Did Clemson win a national championship this year under Dabo Swinney? It's a question that many Clemson fans are wondering. I believe they can get to that point, and we're going to take a look at the schedule and the personnel that will help get them there. Once again, this will be a Clemson team that is going to have plenty of talent to get them to the ACC championship and to get them to the college football playoff. It's just a matter of who is going to step up, who is going to play a bigger role, and how do certain coordinators fit in with what they have. Now you lose some talent as well that you have to fit in new players, but we'll take a look at that in a little bit. The schedule honestly isn't super daunting. There's not a ton that Clemson hasn't seen before. Now, there are some talented teams that they're going to have to face, but this is a team that has seen better teams in the past or similar teams as well. So this isn't something that should scare anybody in the Clemson program, anybody in that fan base. A road trip to Duke to start is tougher than it once was, but it's not something that Clemson should have to worry about. Charleston Southern obviously will be an easy game. Same with FAU. The Florida State game is a huge one for both sides. Florida State has playoff aspirations as well as national championship aspirations, as does Clemson. So that's going to be a huge game early on. Now, the loser doesn't necessarily get eliminated, but it's going to play a big role in who's going to get to the ACC championship as well as who can get in the playoff at that point. So it's a big game in that regard. At Syracuse, you want to say that Syracuse should be an easy game for Clemson, but we can't with what we've seen over the last few years. So I'm not going to just automatically write that one off, though, with the personnel that Syracuse loses this year. I think that it maybe favors Clemson a little bit more than it did in years past. Wake Forest isn't going to be the same team that it was last year, so I don't anticipate this being a close game. We don't know what Miami is going to be. Mario Cristobal is bringing in good talent, but you got to translate that to the field. So we will see about that. NC State, again, another one of those teams that probably isn't what it used to be, although the offense will look little bit different. So maybe there's some struggles there, but I just don't see that. The road trip to NC State is what really makes that a little bit different. Then there's another huge game. The Notre Dame game could be one that, again, has trip, playoff trip, and national championship goals, that it could be on the line when Notre Dame comes to Clemson. Now it's going to be an interesting game. Notre Dame obviously is looking to build upon a strong end to their season. Clemson is trying to get back to the national spotlight where it once was, and I think that's going to determine a lot. And again, there, like I said before, this isn't anything that Clemson hasn't seen before, but that doesn't make it any easier. This is still a talented Notre Dame team with a defense that can slow people down, with an extremely talented defense that could be one of the best in the country. It's just a matter of the offense, really. And you have a quarterback in Sam Hartman who should take over for Notre Dame. He has had some success against Clemson's defense. Obviously, things need to shape up there, but we will see. Next two games are home games as well, Georgia Tech and North Carolina. Georgia Tech might be a little bit better this year with everything turning around there. North Carolina is going to compete for an ACC championship. That will be an interesting game as well. And then South Carolina is another team that's going to be really good. Rivalry game for these two teams that ends the season. That's a tough 2 game stretch between North Carolina and South Carolina. So I think Clemson has their hands full for sure. And obviously, they're just focusing 1 week at a time. Dabo Swinney is trying to get this team refocused and regrouped for 2023. But again, this schedule, nothing that Clemson hasn't seen before and nothing that they can't handle. Now, the players that are going to get them there, everything starts with the offense. And it's going to be interesting to see how this offense evolves into a better group. Last year, they had their struggles, whether that was quarterback play or just an offense that couldn't really get going. Now they bring in Garrett Riley from TCU, who had one of the best offenses in college football. It's going to give them a completely different vibe with this offense. When you look at Cade Klubnik taking over, he is going to be the starter for the Clemson Tigers. He is going to show what he can do, showcase his talent. Now that he doesn't have to worry about DJ coming up behind him or starting in front of him, it is his offense to take over. And I think that I like the fit of Riley's system with Klubnik's talent a little bit better. Obviously, Will Shipley is back. He is I think he's still underrated as a running back. He is someone who has been, I think, mostly because Clemson's quarterback struggles have taken the spotlight, or just the offensive struggles in general have kind of taken over. This is someone who doesn't get enough attention that he deserves. He is one of the best running backs in college football. He is a stud. He is going to be a problem for a lot of teams this year. Now, the one thing that has been a struggle for Clemson over the last few years has been the passing attacks. We talked about the quarterbacks already. We talked about Cade, and we're going to take a look at wide receivers. I think that Clemson has plenty of talent to be one of the better offenses, one of better passing attacks in college football. It's just going to come down to whether or not this group can do it. Now, you look at Antonio Williams, I think, has the potential to be really good in the slot. I think he has had a great freshman season, and he is going to be really good for them. And then when you look at Bo Collins is back, they have talent to do it. They have the talent to be able to get there. This is an offense that can be really good. The offensive line will be good. All the talent in the world is there to be able to utilize. And I think Garrett Riley turns things around. Now, when you flip over to the defensive side of the ball, you're going to have a really talented group, even with the loss of some studs. You obviously lose Miles Murphy to the NFL, you lose KJ Henry. Somebody on the edge is going to need to step up. But again, when you're recruiting like Clemson does, that's not really a concern. Now, the linebackers, there's a duo between Barrett Carter and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. that could be one of the best in the country. I mean, inside of the defensive line, Ruke Orohoro and Tyler Davis are going to be one of the best duos. And you have two duos on the defensive line and linebackers that are going to be one of the best in college football. Nate Wiggins returns in the secondary. There's a lot of talent on this side of the ball as well. So I don't think there's a ton to worry about when it comes to Clemson's football team. Clemson has playoff aspirations, has national championship goals, and I think that they can meet those this year. This is a team that has been kind of struggling a little bit, still winning the ACC, still sitting at the top of the conference, but Dabo Swinney has struggled to find the right fit for his offense and defense, and I think that he's got things figured out this year. Now, obviously, we need to see what happens when they take the field, but this is a team that is definitely going to be better than they were last year. I think Garrett Riley's appearance as just alone is going to make this team better. It's going to get them to a new level. And I think that you're looking again at a program that's going to get back to where they want to be, competing in the college football playoff and potentially competing for a national championship.